Hare Krishna. Welcome to our program. Our speaker of the day is Shriman Gauranga Darshan Prabhu. He has done his master's degree from the prestigious Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. Prabhuji is a disciple of His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj, who is a senior disciple of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. He is also a member of ISKCON Examination Board and takes classes on Srimad Bhagavatam, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita and Vaishnav etiquettes. He has written elaborate workbooks on Bhagavad-gita, Srimad Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita, with which the students can dive into intricacies of these great scriptures. He is a compiler of many other educational booklets and magazines, thus helping the seekers of Bhagavad knowledge. In all, he is a living encyclopedia of scriptures preaching the science all over the world, and who is exemplary and lives whatever he preaches. Come, let's hear him and try to imbibe the essence of scriptures as presented by him. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. We are continuing our discussion on compassion. In the previous episode, we have seen that compassion should be on a spiritual plane. Although on a bodily plane also we show some compassion, ultimately the real compassion is supposed to be on a spiritual plane to uplift one's spiritual consciousness. To revive one's spiritual consciousness by showing some kindness or compassion on a bodily plane is fine. But if our compassion is restricted only to uplift the material well-being of people, that is not complete compassion. Compassion, the real compassion or ultimate compassion, is supposed to be on a spiritual plane. And this compassion is exhibited by great devotees, not in very conventional ways always. Sometimes compassion is exhibited even through harshness also. When a pure devotee chastises another person or punishes another person, even when God also, when he punishes demoniac people, it is done out of compassion. Sometimes there are so many demons who tortured people in the Vedic times. Hiranyakashipu, Kamsa, Ravana, all these people were great demons. They were torturing especially devotees of Vishnu and common people and Brahmanas and all these people. So the Supreme Lord came in the form of various incarnations. In the form of Narasimhadev, the Lord killed Hiranyakashipu. In the form of Varahadev, the Lord killed Hiranyaksha. And in the form of Lord Ramachandra, he killed Ravana. And as Krishna, he killed Kamsa. And Hasur, Bakasur, Sakatasur, Vyomasur, so many other demons were killed by Krishna. Like that, God also kills demoniac people, and that punishment that is given by God is also out of his compassion. There is a beautiful shloka in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. In this 10th canto, there is a beautiful pastime where a demon, a female demon named Putana, comes to Vrindavan with an intention to kill Krishna. She disguised herself, Putana disguised herself as a beautiful woman, a motherly woman, and came to feed Krishna her milk, and along with her milk Krishna sucked her life hairs also, because she smeared poison on her body and tried to kill Krishna. Krishna killed her by drinking her milk only. But after killing her, to punish her for her malicious intent, Krishna did not just stop there, because Putana presented herself as a mother. Although she did not have the attitude of a mother, she had the attire of a mother. So Krishna acknowledged that. out of his deep compassion on this demon, Krishna awarded the position of a mother to Putana in the spiritual world. She became an assistant to Mother Yashoda in the spiritual world to render various services to Krishna in Vatsalya feelings. So Krishna is so compassionate even on the demons. Apparently he might kill Aghasur, Vatsasur, Bakasur, Putana, Keshi, all these people, but Krishna would liberate them from the demoniac life. He would either send them to the spiritual world or send them to some higher planet from which they actually degraded into this demoniac life. Even killing of God is also filled with compassion. It is Krishna who is compassionate upon all the people, and that Krishna's compassion upon his children is represented by his pure devotees. When pure devotees exhibit compassion, they are representing Krishna's compassion, God's compassion. As a representative of the Supreme Lord, they become compassionate on people in general. Out of their deep compassion, they write scriptures, they write commentaries on scriptures, so that people can study them and uplift their consciousness and worship God and perfect their lives. Yairidrishi bhagavato gatiratmavada ekantato nigamabhi pratipaditanaha tushyantadabhrakarunah swakritena nityam ko nama tat pratikaroti vinodapatram. This shloka is spoken by King Prithu when he was discussing with the four Kumaras. Yairidrishi bhagavato gatiratmavada ekantato nigamabhi pratipaditanaha. Nigama means the scriptures, Vedic literatures. Pratipaditanaha. There are great acharyas, great compassionate souls who write commentaries to these scriptures. So scriptures as it is, they are in Sanskrit language, they cannot be, they are not understood by people in general. Even if they understand Sanskrit also, they may not be able to understand the deeper meanings of these Sanskrit shlokas. So great acharyas explain them in lucid language, in a language understandable by common people. Like that, they make this scriptural knowledge accessible to common people also through their writings. Such people cannot be repaid. We are all indebted to the acharyas who are explaining scriptures or the words of God to all of us. We are so indebted to them, and we cannot repay their debt. And we ko nama tat pratikaroti vinoda patram. If someone thinks that I can repay their debt, he is like a jester, he is like a joker whose activities will only cause laughter. We cannot actually repay the debt of all these great acharyas who have enlightened us with scriptural knowledge. Tushyanti adabhara karunaha swakritena nityam. These acharyas are satisfied by their own activities of compassion. When we are genuinely compassionate upon other people, that will satisfy the heart. When we selflessly extend ourselves to help some other people, that will fill the heart with a lot of satisfaction, because that selflessness itself is a source of satisfaction. In selfishness there is no satisfaction. Only in selflessness there is satisfaction. So devotees selflessly extend themselves in welfare work of people in general, thus they are completely satisfied, and they become objects of mercy of God, and they distribute the mercy of God to people in general. And this mercy or compassion need not be exhibited always in a conventional way. We discussed some time back that Krishna kills the demons, and that is his compassion on the demons. In the third canto, there is a beautiful shloka that described Krishna's compassion on Putana specifically. In that one line says, Kamva dayalum sharanam vrajema. So Putana, who came with a malicious intent to kill Krishna, was given the position of a mother, dhatrichitam tatonyam. Who can be more merciful than Krishna? Kamva dayalum sharanam vrajema. Who is a more worthiest object of shelter? So I should take shelter of Krishna only, like that Uddhava says in the third canto. Just as Krishna shows his compassion on demoniac people by punishing them or killing them, sometimes devotees also may show compassion on materialistic people by punishing them or cursing them. Once, Narada Muni saw the two sons of Kuvera, Nalakuvara and Manigriva, who were in a holy place. They were bathing in Ganges without any clothes, along with so many other girls. In a very shameless manner, they were bathing in a holy place in this manner. And when Narada Muni came there, these people who were already intoxicated with wine and women, they did not pay any respects to Narada Muni. Narada Muni was not offended that they did not respect him, but Narada Muni was very much concerned. These two people, Nalakuvara and Manigriva, they were the sons of a great demigod named Kuvera. If their behavior is so degraded, it's not at all pleasant to see them in this manner. So better I teach them the right consciousness, the right etiquette, and let them suffer for their misbehavior, and in that suffering they will be purified. So Narada Muni cursed them to become trees in Vrindavan. Where? In Vrindavan, in the courtyard of Nanda Maharaj. So these Nalakuvara and Manigriva were cursed by Narada Muni to become trees in the courtyard of Nanda Maharaj, and by being trees, they witnessed all the childhood activities of Krishna, and thus they became purified. Narada Muni gave an opportunity to this Nalakuvara and Manigriva to witness Krishna's childhood pastimes. What could be a greater fortune than witnessing Krishna's childhood pastimes? So Narada Muni expressed his compassion on Nalakuvara and Manigriva in this way. His compassion was in the form of curse. Sometimes parents would chastise their children, and they may even punish the children also. That is their compassion on the children. It's not that they envy the children, but the child, because of his mischievous behavior, he does not understand what is good and what is bad. The parents would teach the child what is good and what is bad by punishing, by chastising, by scolding the child, sometimes if needed. So they do not unnecessarily chastise children, but they want to teach good manners and discipline and discrimination to the children. Further, they may become a little strict with them. So even when a superior is exhibiting an apparent unpleasant mood, that is only for the benefit of the dependent. That's how they express their compassion. Compassion need not be always expressed in a palatable manner. It may not be so palatable for us, but ultimately it is most beneficial for us. Devotees are ultimate well-wishers. Just like parents are the greatest well-wishers of children, the devotees or Vaishnavas are the ultimate well-wishers of the entire humanity. Even when they curse also, that is uplifting. So this is compassion on a spiritual plane, which is exhibited in terms of giving scriptural teachings, and it is exhibited in terms of sometimes punishment or cursing also. Sometimes in a very loving manner they may give us some advice also. So compassion can be expressed in various ways by great devotees. Their intent becomes an expression, and sometimes expression is harsh, sometimes expression is very mild. But the spirit behind these expressions is only compassion when a devotee is rectifying the mentality of a miscreant. Sometimes compassion is exhibited in a wrong manner also, to people who do not deserve that kind of attention also. For example, there is a king named Bharat Maharaj. So after his name only, the land in which we live is named as Bharatavarsha. This Bharat Maharaj, he ruled the kingdom in a very responsible manner, and at the right time he retired from that kingly responsibilities and took to full-time devotional service of Krishna at a place named Pulahashram. Bharat went to Pulahashram and he started performing tapasya. He was meditating on the Supreme Lord Vishnu, and he developed deep emotions and symptoms of love for the Supreme Lord Krishna. Eventually, he became very advanced that he was shedding tears out of love and affection for Krishna. But one day, he saw a pregnant deer coming to a river to drink water. Suddenly, a lion roared. So because of that lion's roar, the deer became very frightened and she leaped across the river, and because of that she had a miscarriage and she died. And Bharat Maharaj, he has seen this baby deer, helpless, motherless. So Bharat Maharaj lifted that deer and brought the deer to his own cottage, hermitage, and started taking care of the deer very nicely. So he was very compassionate to the deer because he is a very noble person. He could not leave a helpless creature just like that on his own. So he wanted to take care of the deer in a nice manner. But Bharat Maharaj did a mistake also. Showing compassion in the deer was alright, but he was giving so much attention to the deer, so much so that he neglected his spiritual practices also completely. He was so attracted, because of the attraction towards the deer, he was distracted from spiritual practices also. Giving some attention to the deer and taking care of the deer was alright to a certain degree, but because Bharat Maharaj went beyond the needed attention, and he was diverted and distracted from his spiritual life, and because of that eventually he died thinking about the deer, and he entered a deer body in his next life. Of course, it was Krishna's plan to increase the longing of Bharat Maharaj for intensified devotional service by giving him this punishment of being in a deer body. But still, Bharat Maharaj's distraction was due to his misplaced compassion. Compassion has to be due, not undue. Compassion should be on a spiritual plane, and on a material plane we may exhibit compassion to a certain degree, but that material compassion, compassion on a bodily plane, should not take over our deeper compassion on a spiritual plane. So he neglected his spiritual practices to take care of the physical body of the deer. So because of that, he entered a deer body. Srila Prabhupada, he was in Vrindavan. He was absorbed in his spiritual life, and he was writing so many literatures, spiritual literatures. He was giving commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam, and Vrindavan is filled with spiritual vibrations. All the residents of Vrindavan, they just want to stay in Vrindavan. They do not even want to go to Mathura also. They want to live in Vrindavan, they want to die in Vrindavan, and they are attending Mangalarti, the early morning programs in all the temples of Vrindavan, all the Goswamis temples and all. And the Vrindavan ambience is surcharged with spiritual vibrations. But Prabhupada was thinking, the people of the Western world do not know what it means to be living without sense gratification. They do not know Krishna. They do not know Vrindavan. So let me just give this Vrindavan experience to people of the Western world also. In fact, all over the world, the spiritual vibrations have to be spread. So Prabhupada was thinking of how to give this spiritual experience to people in general. And he took this great task of translating this voluminous Bhagavatam literature in English language so that the modern world can understand Bhagavatam. And at the age of 70, he took the great risk of crossing the oceans and going to the Western countries. All this is because of his deep spirit of compassion for people in general. So the real compassion is to show compassion on a spiritual plane, trying to uplift the spiritual consciousness of people and permanently relieve people in general from these material miseries. So when somebody is undergoing some material difficulty, one may be compassionate to help him in that difficulty and then make him transcend that difficulty. That is one level. But there is a deeper level of compassion where one will try to give spiritual consciousness to people in general, and when their consciousness is uplifted, they take shelter of God. They need not take birth again in this material world. They can go to spiritual world and be permanently relieved of all material difficulties. So the real compassion is to show compassion on a spiritual plane. Although sometimes we have to show some compassion on a bodily plane also. That does not mean that we have to show compassion only on spiritual plane. Somebody suffering with fever, you do not show any kindness to him in giving some tablet or giving him some assistance. So one has to show compassion when somebody is undergoing some physical difficulties also, but a higher level of compassion is to show compassion on spiritual plane. And ultimately, we are not the origin of compassion. Although we try to imbibe the spirit of compassion and show compassion to people in general on a spiritual plane, that compassion is actually Krishna's compassion. We can only become instruments in the compassion of God. We can only transparently transmit that compassion of God through us to people in general. But we can never claim credit that, oh, I am compassionate on these people. I have uplifted them from their degraded consciousness to elevated consciousness. One cannot claim the credit for it. Ultimately, Krishna is compassionate. God is compassionate on all his children. And some of the children of God who have become objects of compassion of God, they want to transmit and share that compassion with people in general also. They are just assistants of God. They are just instruments in the hands of God. So they just transmit the compassion of God transparently to people in general to stop their tribulations and to bring about transformation in their attitude. So that's the real spirit of compassion. Hare Krishna.
For more such devotional programs, please watch Hare Krishna television. To get this channel, please contact your cable or DTH operator. For more information, please call 8767 845 845.